Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dreamers and doubters, there's a truth you were never told in school. They taught you how to memorize, they taught you how to calculate, but they never taught you how to rise after you've been broken. They never taught you how to keep walking when the world has turned its back on you. They didn't show you the map to your purpose, because there is no map, there is only faith, there is only fire, there is only you and the calling on your life. Success, oh success, it is not a golden crown waiting at the end of a perfect path. It is a battle, it is blood on the ground and tears on the pillow. It is rejection after rejection until one day the door opens. And when it opens, it doesn't open because of your grades. It doesn't open because you knew all the right answers. It opens because you refuse to quit. Success is not about being the smartest in the room. It's about being the one who keeps getting up after being knocked down 10, 20, 100 times. They don't tell you that in school. They don't teach you that people will doubt you, even laugh at your dreams. But here's what I've come to tell you: you are not here by accident. You were born with fire in your soul. The world tried to cover it. The system tried to tame it. But it's still there, burning. Success is built on rejection, not perfection. That's the part nobody wants to hear. We grow up believing that if we just get it right enough times, say the right words, walk the straight line, follow the rules, and don't make mistakes, then somehow success will come knocking. That's what the system teaches us. That's what school conditions us to believe. But life doesn't play by those rules. Life will test you in ways textbooks can't explain. Life throws you into the deep end and watches to see whether you'll swim or sink. Rejection is not a detour from the path of success. It is the path. Every person who has ever achieved something worth remembering has faced the crushing weight of rejection. Rejection from people, from systems, from opportunities they thought were meant for them. And yet they kept going. Not because they were perfect, but because they refused to stop. Rejection is not the end of your story unless you let it be. It's not a wall, it's a mirror. It shows you what you're made of. You can have all the qualifications, all the intelligence, all the preparation, and still be told no, not once, not twice, but over and over again. And each time you're going to have to make a decision: will you let that no define you, or will you use it to drive you deeper into your calling? See, perfection is an illusion. You will never be fully ready. You will never have all the answers. And if you wait until you do, you'll never begin. What builds success is not having a flawless track record. It's having the courage to show up after you've failed and failed again. It's learning from every rejection instead of running from it. It's turning every closed door into a lesson, every not yet into fuel for the fire inside you. Think about it: if success only came to those who never messed up, the world would be empty of greatness. We wouldn't have stories of inventors who failed 1,000 times before changing the world. We wouldn't have music, art, or innovation from people who were told they weren't good enough. Rejection is the fire that purifies the dreamer. It burns away the ego, the doubt, the fluff. It tests whether you want this for applause, or because it's in your bones. You learn far more from rejection than from praise. Praise comforts you. Rejection confronts you. Praise tells you what's working. Rejection tells you what still needs to be refined. If you can endure rejection and remain faithful to your vision, you are already succeeding, because that's the kind of endurance success requires. People spend years chasing perfection, polishing resumes, editing appearances, waiting to be chosen. But success doesn't choose the most polished. It chooses the most persistent. The ones who stand up after humiliation. The ones who stay in the game after they've been counted out. The ones who take no and say, "Watch me turn it into a yes." When you begin to see rejection not as failure but as training, everything changes. You stop fearing it. You stop letting it control your worth. You start growing stronger every time you're told you're not ready. Because deep down you know you are. Success is built in those lonely moments, when no one is clapping, when the world doubts you, when you have every reason to quit, but something in you whispers, "Keep going." That something, that quiet, unbreakable voice, is what separates those who dream from those who do. And the ones who do, they aren't perfect. They're just the ones who never let rejection have the final word. Grades don't define your future. Grit does. We live in a world that has trained us to believe that our worth is measured in numbers. A world where your potential is reduced to a report card, a percentage, a standardized score. From childhood, we are fed the idea that the highest grades belong to the highest achievers, and the best marks lead to the best life. But that's a lie wrapped in tradition. Because beyond the classroom, the real world doesn't ask you what grade you got in math. It asks you how you respond when life hits hard and nothing goes according to plan. You see, grades can show how well you memorize the content, how well you conform to expectations, how efficiently you learn to repeat information. But they cannot measure how deeply you dream, how fiercely you fight, how bravely you rise after a fall. Grit is what carries you when talent alone runs out. Grit is what pushes you to try again when logic says it's time to quit. And grit, unlike grades, can't be taught through lectures. It comes through experience, through struggle, through the raw, unfiltered moments of life. The students who top the class aren't always the ones who top the world, because life is not a clean exam paper. It's messy, unpredictable, and brutally honest. You won't be graded on how neat your handwriting is. You'll be measured by your resilience, your focus, your hunger to keep going when comfort is no longer an option. Grit is what builds entrepreneurs, leaders, creators, change makers. And no GPA can substitute for the fire of someone who refuses to back down. Many of the most successful people in history were average or even failing students, not because they lacked intelligence, but because their minds were wired for something different, something deeper. They weren't meant to just follow instructions. They were born to rewrite the script, to create, to explore, to question the very rules they were taught to obey. And the system often doesn't reward that kind of thinking. But life does. It's easy to measure someone's academic performance. It's harder to measure their perseverance, their work ethic, their faith in the face of failure. Grit is invisible on a transcript, but it shows up when everything falls apart and you still find a way forward. That kind of strength doesn't come from straight A's. It comes from standing in the storm and choosing not to run. Grades may open a few doors, but grit is what keeps those doors open. Grit is what helps you build new doors when none are offered. It's what helps you wake up early, work late, learn what no one taught you, and push past the fear of not being enough. Grit gives you permission to keep moving, even when the world labels you as average. Because grit doesn't care about labels. It cares about action. It cares about growth. You can have all the credentials in the world, but if you crumble when things go wrong, credentials won't save you. On the other hand, if you have grit, even when you start with nothing, you'll find your way. You'll stumble, fall, get back up, and carve out your own future, one painful step at a time. In the end, it's not about how well you did in school. It's about how hard you're willing to fight when the world says no. It's about whether you choose to stay the same or evolve. Grades might give you a head start, but grit is what keeps you in the race. Faith and hunger matter more than knowledge alone. Knowledge can fill your mind, but faith and hunger fuel your journey. We live in a time where information is everywhere. You can search, learn, and consume facts from morning to night. But knowing something doesn't mean you'll act on it. Knowing how to succeed is not the same as having the hunger to get up every day and do what it takes. Faith is what lifts you when knowledge runs out. Hunger is what drives you when logic says stop. You can have 10 degrees, but if you lack the belief that you can rise above your current situation, those degrees are just paper. You can read every book in the library, but if you have no desire to take risks, to build something with your own hands, you will stay stuck in theory. Knowledge sits in your mind. Faith lives in your soul. Hunger lives in your bones. Together they move you when nothing else will. There are people with far less knowledge than you who are doing far more. Not because they're smarter. Not because they had more help. But because they believed something different about themselves. They had faith that they could do it, and the hunger to make it real. That kind of inner drive cannot be taught. It must be awakened. And once it's awake, it doesn't sleep. Faith tells you that you're capable even when no one else agrees. Hunger keeps you chasing after the dream even when the world says it's too far away. Knowledge might say, wait until everything is ready. But faith says, start now. Hunger says, don't stop. Knowledge can make you cautious. Faith and hunger make you bold. The truth is most people know what they need to do. They know they need to work hard. They know they need to stay consistent. They know that sacrifice brings growth. But knowing doesn't make it happen. Hunger does. Hunger is what gets you out of bed when no alarm can. Hunger is what pulls you out of comfort and into challenge. Faith is what tells you that your story is not over yet. Sometimes the smartest person in the room is not the one who succeeds. It's the one with fire in their eyes and purpose in their steps. The one who's willing to try, fail, and try again. Because faith sees the invisible and hunger chases the impossible. Knowledge can explain the road, but faith and hunger will take the steps. When you believe that something greater is possible, you tap into a strength no book can give you. When you're hungry for a better life, a better future, a greater purpose, no amount of doubt can stop you. Knowledge might prepare your mind, but it is faith and hunger that prepare your heart for the journey. You don't need to know everything to begin. You just need the courage to believe that you can grow along the way. You need the hunger that won't let you give up just because things get hard. Life doesn't reward the most informed. It rewards the most relentless. And the relentless are not always the ones with the best answers. They're the ones with the deepest desire. When the lights go off and you're alone with your thoughts, it's not what you know that keeps you going. It's what you believe about yourself. It's the hunger inside that won't let you settle. That hunger is your engine. That faith is your compass. Knowledge helps you plan, but faith and hunger are what make you move. No one will believe in your dream until you do. That's the harsh truth they don't tell you. People don't invest in what they don't understand, and most won't understand your dream in the beginning. They won't see what you see, they won't feel what you feel, and they won't believe until you've already walked through the fire alone. In the early stages of your dream, there's silence, there's doubt, there's isolation, and in that silence you must decide whether your dream is real, to you, or just a fantasy. You can't expect others to carry a vision they didn't receive. You can't ask people to understand a mission that was whispered to your heart in a language only you could hear. So when they laugh, when they question, when they say it's impossible, it's not because they're cruel. It's because they can't see what you see. And that's okay. It's not their job to see it. It's your job to build it anyway. The world follows results, not ideas. They believe in success after happens, not before. That means you will have to walk alone in the beginning. You will have to take steps in the dark. You will have to talk about dreams that haven't happened yet, and work on things that no one cares about, yet. And during those times you'll want someone to believe in you. But sometimes, there's no one, and that's where your belief must be louder than your doubts. Your dream is your responsibility, not your family's, not your teachers, yours. If you don't fight for it, no one else will. If you don't nurture it, it dies. People are waiting to see whether you believe, whether you are committed. Because if you're uncertain, they'll walk away. If you hesitate, they'll doubt. But if you show up every day with fire and focus, even when no one is watching, that's when something begins to shift. The truth is, no one sees the hours you work when you're exhausted. No one sees the silent tears, the rejected ideas, the small wins that mean the world to you. But you see them. And that's what matters. That inner vision is your anchor. It's what will hold you steady when external validation is nowhere to be found. You have to believe when there is no proof. You have to speak life over your dream when everyone else is silent. You have to trust that something is being built, even when the results are invisible. People will believe after the breakthrough, but you have to believe before it. That is the price of vision. And here's the truth: most people miss your belief in your dream gives others permission to believe in theirs. When they see your courage, your resilience, your quiet persistence, they begin to wonder what's possible for them too. But none of that happens unless you lead the way with your own belief. Your dream is the match, but your belief is the flame. You cannot wait for applause to begin. You cannot wait for validation to feel worthy. You must begin where you are, with what you have, and become the proof that belief can move mountains. Because belief isn't passive, it's active. It's not just saying, I have a dream. It's saying, I'm building it whether you see it or not. Every world-changing idea was once invisible. Every success story started with someone who believed when no one else did. So if no one claps yet, clap for yourself. If no one sees it, see it anyway. That dream lives in you for a reason, and your belief is the first brick in the foundation. You were born with a purpose, not a plan. From the moment you took your first breath, something deep within you was already waiting to be discovered. Not a map, not a step-by-step instruction manual, but a seed, small, silent, full of promise. That seed is your purpose. It doesn't always come with clear directions. It doesn't tell you what to do next, but it pulls at you. It whispers to you. It stirs something inside you that can't be explained in words. The world often teaches us to look for the plan. Go to school, get good grades, find a job, settle down. The plan is neat. The plan is safe. But purpose is different. Purpose disrupts the ordinary. It makes you restless in comfort. It makes you question the very system that told you how life is supposed to go. Purpose doesn't fit inside a curriculum. It shows up in your passion, your pain, your gifts, your curiosity. It's buried in the moments that move you, the ones that break you open or light you up. Some people spend their entire lives chasing a plan, ticking off boxes, achieving all the things they were told would bring meaning. But deep down they feel empty, because they were never meant to follow a plan. They were meant to live a purpose. The plan may give you structure, but only purpose gives you fulfillment. The plan tells you where to go, Purpose tells you why you're going. You don't have to have it all figured out to begin. You just have to follow the next spark. That thing you can't stop thinking about. That problem that breaks your heart. That idea you keep dreaming about but haven't dared to try. Those aren't accidents. They are signals pointing you toward your purpose. They are echoes of something greater than a career, louder than a paycheck. Purpose isn't always loud. It often starts in the quiet, in the stillness, in the things that feel small and unnoticed. It grows every time you show up with intention. Every time you use your voice, your time, your energy for something that matters. And even when you feel lost, your purpose is not gone. Sometimes you have to get lost in the plan to find the real path. You weren't born to copy someone else's life. You weren't sent here to blend in, to shrink, to simply follow instructions. There's something in you that the world needs. Something that can't be downloaded or duplicated. It's uniquely yours. And you don't find it by chasing perfection. You find it by being honest about what lights you up and what tears you down. The people who change the world are rarely the ones who had it all planned out. They're the ones who listened to something deeper. They paid attention to the call. They followed their purpose, even when it looked different than what others expected. And in doing so, they found something greater than success. They found meaning. You don't have to have a 5-year plan to make a difference. You don't need permission to follow what makes your soul come alive. The plan may fail, it may change, it may fall apart, but your purpose will still be there, waiting to rise. Because purpose isn't fragile. It's woven into your being. It's the reason you keep going even when things don't make sense. It's the fire that refuses to die. It's the part of you that knows, even in chaos, that your life is meant for something more. Success is a decision, not a destination. It's not a place you arrive at one day with applause and trophies and flashing lights. It's not something waiting at the top of a mountain after you've climbed the perfect path. Success begins long before anyone sees it. It begins the moment you decide you won't live like everyone else. It begins when you make an internal shift from hoping to becoming. That shift happens quietly. No celebration, no audience. Just a quiet voice inside saying, I will not stop. You don't need all the answers to decide you're going to succeed. You don't need money, connections, or a perfect past. What you need is to make the decision to commit fully, without conditions. Success doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It waits for you to say yes, even in your uncertainty. It comes when you decide to take the first step, then another, and then another, even if the road ahead is dark and unknown. Most people are waiting to feel motivated, waiting for the right time, waiting for someone to believe in them. But those who succeed don't wait. They choose. They choose to rise every day and give everything they've got, not because they feel like it, but because they made a promise to themselves. They decided that their future mattered too much to leave it to chance. Success is built in the small, unseen decisions. The decision to get up early and work on your craft when no one's watching. The decision to keep going after failure, instead of letting it define you. The decision to stay true to your values when shortcuts look tempting. Every one of those decisions adds up. They build your character, your consistency, your power. And one day, they build your results. The destination will come, but it's the decision that creates the momentum. Without the decision, nothing moves. You stay stuck in potential, in doubt, in fear. But the moment you decide that quitting is not an option, something shifts. You begin to carry yourself differently. You act like someone who's already becoming. And that belief becomes your fuel. People think success is only for the lucky, the gifted, the chosen. But success doesn't discriminate. It responds to discipline. It responds to boldness. It responds to the ones who decide they're not going back to average, not settling for safe, not letting excuses be louder than purpose. It's not about where you start. It's about what you're willing to do, what you have. The power to succeed was always yours. It was never in someone else's hands. The moment you realize that, you stop waiting, you stop blaming, you stop wishing for a different past and start creating a different future. That's the real turning point. Not when you arrive at success, but when you decide that no matter how long it takes, no matter what it costs, you will not give up. You become successful in your mind before it ever shows up in your life. That internal decision creates external impact. And every time life tests you, tries to knock you off course, tries to wear you down, you return to that decision. You remember why you started. You remember what you chose. And because you chose it, you stand back up. No one can make the decision for you. Not your family, not your mentor, not your friends. It has to come from within. And once it does, no obstacle is permanent. No failure is final. You may bend, you may break, but you won't stop. Because you already made the decision. And that decision rewrote your story. Your scars are proof that you're still in the fight. They are not signs of weakness. They are not marks of failure. They are the evidence that you survived what tried to break you. Every scar tells a story of pain, yes, but also of resilience, of endurance, of choosing to rise again when it would have been easier to stay down. The world tells you to hide your scars, to cover them up, to act like you've never been wounded. But your scars are not something to be ashamed of. They are the silent trophies of battles others will never understand. When you look at someone who seems strong, don't be fooled into thinking they've never struggled. Strength is not born from comfort. It is born from pain, from setbacks, from moments that pushed a person to the edge and dared them to come back stronger. Those who walk with confidence often carry invisible scars. Scars from words that cut deep, from dreams that collapsed, from losses that left them gasping for air. And yet, they kept going. Your scars mean you showed up. They mean you tried. They mean you cared enough to risk something. You were not afraid to get hurt in the pursuit of something meaningful. The ones who stay safe, who never fail, who never fall, they may appear polished, but they don't know the depth of true courage. Because courage is getting back in the arena with wounds still fresh and saying, I'm not done yet. Too many people try to present a perfect image, but perfection doesn't connect people. Pain does, authenticity does. When you own your scars, you give others permission to face theirs. When you stop hiding your broken parts, others feel safe to reveal their own. That's how healing begins. Not by pretending to be untouched, but by showing that healing is possible. You might look at your life and see the moments that hurt you most. The betrayal, the loss, the failure, the heartbreak. You might wonder why those things had to happen. Why life had to cut so deep. But the truth is the scar means it healed. You may not be the same, but you're still here. And sometimes, that's the greatest victory. To be here still standing, still breathing, still fighting. Every scar holds wisdom. It reminds you of who you became in the process, of what you endured and what you learned. Pain changes people. It breaks illusions. It strips away what doesn't matter and reveals what does. And those who come through pain with humility and purpose often carry a depth that cannot be faked. Your scars do not make you less. They make you real. They make you human. And in a world obsessed with surface-level success, there is something sacred about someone who has truly been through it and is still going, not perfect, untouched, but present, grounded, alive. When you find yourself in the next storm, remember your scars. They are reminders of what you've already overcome. They are proof that the last storm didn't destroy you, and neither will this one. You've faced hard things before and you're still here. You've cried, doubted, fallen apart, and yet you're still showing up. There's power in that. Quiet, steady power. The kind that doesn't need applause to feel real. The kind that lives in people who've bled for what they believe in. You can't fake that kind of strength. You can't buy it. You earn it. One wound, one tear, one scar at a time. Average was never your calling. Greatness is. From the beginning, there was something in you that didn't quite fit in with the ordinary. Even if you tried to stay small, to blend in, to follow the crowd, something inside you resisted. That quiet pull in your chest, that fire that flickers when you dream, that itch when you see people settling for less. That's greatness trying to get your attention. It doesn't scream, it doesn't demand, but it never stops calling, and it will keep calling until you either rise to meet it or silence it with fear. You weren't meant to go through life unnoticed, unseen, unchallenged. You weren't born just to survive. Check boxes, follow the routine, and fade into the background. There is more in you. More power, more potential, more purpose than you've been led to believe. The world may be comfortable with you being average. It may applaud your decision to stay safe. But comfort is the enemy of calling. Because your calling will always stretch you. It will always demand more than what average requires. Average is easy. It asks for little and gives even less. Greatness, on the other hand, is costly. It requires sacrifice. It asks you to stand when others sit, to believe in others' doubt, to act when others hesitate. And that's why many never answer the call. They're not willing to leave the familiar. They're not ready to feel the growing pains that come with becoming everything they were born to be. But you felt the pull. You know there's more. Greatness isn't about fame or status. It's not about being better than others. It's about becoming the fullest, rawest, most alive version of yourself. It's about using what you've been given. Your story, your voice, your perspective, to make a mark that only you can make. No one else has your fingerprint. No one else carries your exact fire. That means your greatness is uniquely yours. You don't have to know how it will all unfold. You just have to say yes. Yes to the hard work. Yes to the process. Yes to the unknown. There's nothing average about a person who dares to live fully, love deeply, and dream wildly. But that kind of living will always come with resistance, because average will fight to keep you. It will whisper doubts. It will remind you of past failures. It will try to convince you that playing small is smart. But deep down you already know the truth. You weren't created for a life of quiet desperation. You weren't designed to wake up dreading your days, counting the hours, living on repeat. There's a purpose in you that burns too bright to be buried. And every time you try to push it aside, it returns. Every time you ignore it, something feels off. Because average doesn't fit you. It never has. The world needs people who refuse to settle. People who live with urgency and integrity. People who don't just dream, but do. People who fall and rise again with more fire than before. That kind of person changes their own life and inspires others to do the same. You've seen glimpses of your greatness, in moments of clarity, in flashes of courage, in the way your heart beats faster when you think about doing something bold. Don't let the world convince you to hide that part of you. Don't let fear convince you that average is safer. Safe is not the goal, purpose is. Impact is. Becoming who you were born to be is. And that path will never be found by choosing what's easy. It will only reveal itself when you choose what's right. You don't need permission to begin. You just need to remember who you are. Here is a powerful and emotional conclusion that ties together all 8 keynotes into a unified, soul-stirring messaging. So now you know. They didn't teach you these truths in school. Not because they weren't important, but because they can't be taught in a classroom. They are learned in the trenches. In the heartbreak, in the failure, in the silence. They are carved into your soul by life itself. Success isn't about perfect grades or polished plans. It's not about waiting to be chosen. It's about choosing you yourself. Choosing to believe when no one else will. Choosing to rise when you've been knocked flat. Choosing to follow the whisper of purpose over the noise of the crowd. You are not made to live an average life. You are not sent here to play small. You are born with a fire, reason. And though the world may try to tame it, it cannot extinguish what was placed in you by something greater. So stop waiting, doubting. Stop shrinking to fit spaces you've outgrown. The scars you carry are not signs of defeat. They are proof that you're still in the fight, that you're still standing, that greatness still calls your name. Make the decision now, not tomorrow, not when it's easy, to live the life you were born for, one of purpose, one of hunger, one of unshakable faith, because success was never out there waiting to be found. It was always in you, waiting to be claimed.